Yeah, this is a fun wine. This is what we call our crowd pleaser or our everyday wine. Bill likes to make very ageable, library-like wines and single vineyard special reserve wines a lot too. But he also enjoys equally making everyday wines. And he says you need everyday wines. He said you need wines for Monday through Thursday. So he makes a group of wines. He says you're not supposed to drink after Thursday. He said there's plenty of Friday night wines in the world. There's not enough Monday through Thursday wines. So this is definitely your Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night kind of wine. And we call it Tete-a-Tete. And Tete-a-Tete is the French term for head-to-head conversation. So we give you our intent right on the label. Jamie, you mind showing that label again real quick?
Oh, yeah, sure, of course.
A crude little drawing that one of our neighbors drew. He was listening to Bill explain the wine, and he goes, "Hey, Bill, what's this wine about?" He said, "Well, it's the kind of wine you sit down with a friend and have a tete-a-tete or a head-to-head conversation." Guy drew that on a piece of paper and handed it to him. Bill goes, "That's my label." So there's our marketing program, So it kind of speaks to what the wine is. It's the kind of wine that you'd sit down with a friend, and this is supposed to be the lubrication for that conversation. It's still made like a reserve level wine. If you notice, 2013 is the current vintage. So we're holding our reds back anywhere from about 4 to 10 years in a lot of cases, even with the entry level ones, to let them expand and shed that mountain tannin and get softer and more delicate. So what you're going to notice when you taste this wine, it's just happy in your mouth. All that. The way to put it, I guess, is the way Bill puts it best. He goes, all the edges are sanded off of it. No elbows and knees sticking out. It's ready to go. So delicious, rounded wine made up of mostly Grenache, a little bit of Mourvèdre, and a little bit of Syrah thrown in there. And those three grapes really play well together. You may have heard of this style of wine. In France, they call it Côte du Rhône style wine. You'll see a lot of Côte du Rhônes are this mixture with a couple of other grapes, but typically just these three grapes. Mostly with Grenache on the forefront, and they play really well off each other. Grenache is kind of the fruit component, the Syrah is kind of the structure and the backbone, and the Mourvèdre is kind of the X component. It's like the exotic earthiness, and you put all three of those together in the sandbox, and they do play well. They really kind of complement each other. It's almost that classic one and one, or 1 + 1 equals 3 kind of thing, bigger than some of its parts anyway. It really does make for a better wine blending that. Now, this is from younger vines. We have older vine, and an older vine version of this is a reserve level wine. And it's creatively called L'Autre, which in French means the other, because it's the other wine. And this is our young, easy drinking Tete-a-Tete for everyday consumption. Still high altitude, still all the same quality ingredients. And the younger vines are more approachable, but it still gets that same amount of love and bottle age that even the reserve level wines get. So with this wine and a lot of our core entry level wines, you get an everyday wine that's treated like a reserve wine. So you're for less than $20, this is $17.99, $18. You're getting a wine that should be, if you tasted it blind with a bunch of wines that it's the same quality, would be $40. So unbelievable quality with that extra bottle age. And that extra bit of bottle age is kind of like a fifth gear. You got another level. That you don't get that with anything but bottle age. It adds this complexity and chemical makeup in a wine that goes a little more earthy and savory that you just don't get. And it's kind of what we're all going for when we age wine. And you get this in our entry level.
Yeah, that's really cool. Les, can you talk, and we can also talk about this with the Zinfandels as well, but what sort of happens to the fruit profile as there is this bottle age and as there is this time also in élevage? Like I tend to get a little bit more, the fruits become a little bit more raisinated or stewed or a little bit more almost like cohesive over time, I would say.
I'd almost put it in a way to figure it out is like a chef building a dish. When he starts his dish out with one ingredient and he starts layering more ingredients in there, the longer he lets it kind of cook, or what they call reducing, you get these kind of secondary and tertiary flavors that you couldn't with just one or two ingredients. It takes 2 or 3 of these ingredients together, cooking and cooking down over time. Wine kind of does that too. So we use those terms too. You get secondary flavors and tertiary flavors that kind of build, especially the tertiary flavors. And they're basically chemical changes that only happen in the bottle. So you got to think about this. It's put into this sealed hermetic bottle for many years, but there's chemical change still going on inside. A little bit of air gets in, through cork or even a little bit through screw caps. They're permeated now, the little bit of air. And that oxygen transfer is chemically bonding and they're changing. The tannins are falling out. So when you get an older bottle that has sediment in it, they've fallen out. They've basically grouped together, got bigger and bigger and bigger and chained up bigger, and they finally fall out as solids. So there's chemical change going on. And with that chemical change, you get flavor profile change. And that's one of the reasons we age wine to get more complex layers of flavor. Younger wines, we all know what they taste like, primary fruit. And primary fruit, to kind of explain what that is, we've all come across it. It's like you go to your farmer's market or your store, you grab a pint of raspberries, fresh raspberries at your farmer's market, just came off the vine that week. And before you've even gotten in the car, you've already popped two in your mouth, and that fresh, bright flavor that you're getting is called primary fruit. It's just fruit flavor. You can subtract the sugar component because that's just sugar level of it. But the actual pop of flavor that you get that's raspberry, and we all recognize it, is the primary fruit flavor. Doesn't matter how ripe or underripe it is, you're still going to get that flavor. Think of a green banana. It still tastes like a banana. It's just green. The riper it gets, it just tastes riper. So kind of look for that. Now, take that pint of raspberries and put it on the back of your counter and forget it for 2 weeks. When you go back to it, it's going to have a different flavor profile. So it's almost this desiccation or rottingness, and that's kind of happening to your wine, but not, it's rotting over a slower period of time, so you get actually these flavor compounds that are pleasurable in the wine with it, and it's just more complexity is building up the entire time. So what you're talking about, you get these stewed or cooked kind of flavors out of it. Yeah, it's more of that because it's reducing down to its elemental kind of flavors. So we all can get a brand new wine and get that primary fruit flavor. This is much harder to achieve. Yeah. And when it's done right by somebody that's really good at it, it's been doing it for almost 40 years, you get this, what you're tasting now.